Hello, beautiful people. Today is 28th of July. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Guys, today, as a part of our GS folder, we will be taking some very important content from the writings of Joseph Stiglitz, who's a Nobel Prize winner in economic sciences and happened to be the chief economist at the World Bank. Now, see, in GS paper number 3, explicitly the topic of development has been mentioned, and on that line, question have been asked in GS3 as well as into the GS paper number 2. So the fundamental question is, what is meaningful development? So meaningful development is one which leads to fourfold capital stock increase. And what are these four types of capital? Material capital, natural capital, human capital, and social capital. And into this context, you can answer any dimension which is associated with the genuine development. So guys, if a question comes, then please use this matter into your answers. It will be giving much authenticity. Now guys, the main question that I gave you yesterday. So this question was from GS paper number 2 and it was a 10 marker question. Question says that the law of contempt should be employed only to enable the court to function, not to prevent the criticism. Now guys, first of all, if you had seen the yesterday's discussion, I don't think that you would have found any problem in answering the question. So, guys, in the introduction, we can start that as the process of independent judiciary developed into the British common law system, certain safeguards were needed to be provided to the judiciary so that they can function without any ill, fear, or favor. And, guys, just as a functional aspect, the contempt powers were given. But into the mean course of time, it has been seen that often this contempt power is not used to enhance the functionality but rather to silence the criticism, and as suggested by the Bridges judgment of US California, it has been said that wherever there is a silence, there comes the suspicion, and when comes the suspicion, the confidence into the judiciary erodes, and this thing could give a substantial blow to the idea of a functional and welfarist democracy, because such kind of democracy thrives onto the criticism, accountability, and onto the right of speech and expression. Now, guys, into the context of India, the contempt is dealt by the Contempt of Court Act of 1971 as well as by the various provisions of the Constitution. For example, Article number 129, Article number 215, etc. Now, guys, if we go further deeper, then in India we have two types of contempt, that is the civil contempt and the criminal contempt. Now, as per the scope, civil contempt can be a enabling factor for enhancing the functionality, but criminal contempt often smells that it has been enacted, it is helping to prevent the criticism. So therefore it is a high time that the criminal contempt should be reconsidered, as even in 2013, the Britain dropped the criminal contempt from their statute books, and USA is not using the criminal contempt from so long. So, guys, this is the framework on which you need to write your answer. So, guys, that's it. And now let's move to the newspaper analysis. Guys, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire paper first. First of all, friends, all the factual news from the Hindu paper as well as from other sources such as PIB and Indian Express, I provide every day into the Telegram channel. So you can download it from there into the PDF format. The link has been provided into the description. Now, guys, starting up. So, guys, first of all, the political drama is going on into the Rajasthan, where finally the governor has given the nod to convene the house. However, guys, day-to-day development are not important for our exam. At last, we'll see that what actually comes out of this thing. Then, guys, again, here the COVID data, etc., has been given, which is not important for our exam. So, guys, in Delhi, the government is starting the Rozgar Bazaar, which will be a kind of a job portal. So, guys, all the states into this particular direction are working in this direction, and even the Maharashtra earlier started the Maha Job Portal, which was again a kind of a job portal to provide the employment opportunities to people who have lost their jobs. So just for the reference, you can use these two names into your answers. However, no need to go into the detail. Now, guys, moving forward, so we can see that into the city section, no important news has been given, only the news with respect to the COVID, etc. regional news has been given, which is not important for our exam. So, guys, today, before the editorial section, substantial news has not been there, and it happens many a times. Now, guys, so directly we need to go today directly into the editorial page, and here the EIA has been mentioned here. Now, guys, here the foreign policy has been mentioned. Three factors with respect to Indian foreign policy has been given. Very good article. Then, guys, here the health care has been mentioned. So, very good article. Will be seeing some alternative dimension here. Now, guys, this article is about the internal crisis that is going into the Sudan. Now, guys, specifically, no implication is there into India, and the internal political crises are not important for our exam. So, not important for the paper. Then, guys, here the hunger has been mentioned with respect to the Sophie report. A very good article. Will be seeing this thing. Now, guys, this particular article talks about Sri Lanka. Guys, nothing substance has been given into this entire article, which will give some knowledge enhancement. However, the way of writing is good here. So, for essay, if you want to see the style of writing, you can see. However, the content is not there. Guys, rather, just 2 days back, I discussed the entire India Sri Lanka relations into the present times. So, guys, if you want for India Sri Lanka relations, you can refer the 25th July newspaper discussion at this particular timestamp. Then, guys, this particular article is talking about the riots that happened into the Delhi and the issue sequences, the BJP party, the UP government, and those things have been mentioned. Not important for our exam because it is a little bit controversy ridden topic. Then, guys, moving forward here, the tiger census has been mentioned. So, certain news will be seeing here. Then, guys, moving forward here, the data protection law has been mentioned. So, we will seeing it into entirety. Then, guys, the PM Cares Fund cannot go to the NDRF. Guys, the matter is still sub judice. So, till the final judgment doesn't comes, we don't need to actually make any speculation here. However, guys, here government had said that the PM Cares is a charitable fund, and because it is a charitable fund, its money cannot go into the National Disaster Relief Fund, which is a statutory body. So, this is a statement which has been given by the government, but judgment is yet to come. Now, guys, here into this particular picture, the name of two tribes have been mentioned. That is the Gujjar and Bakkarwal tribes who live into the Pir Panjal and the Himalayan ranges. So they are being given the education. Just for the reference, you can remember these two tribes as where they live. Now, guys, here it has been given that the Israeli team had arrived for the rapid test of COVID-19. Guys, from last 2-3 days we are tracing the visit of Israel, and now the finally they have came. However, nothing substantial has happened here. Guys, moving forward, the India Bangladesh ties have been mentioned in these two articles, so we'll be seeing what is happening. Showcase page not important for our exam. Then, onto the world page, the China has convened a quadrilateral dialogue. It could have much implication. We'll be seeing what has happened here. Then, guys, onto the business page, infra push as well as some other fact sectors has been mentioned where India need to invest. We'll be seeing this thing. Then, single window has been mentioned, so we'll see what has happened. Then, guys, onto the sports page, nothing important has been given. So that's it. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. So now starting up, so this first article talks about the foreign policy of India, and it provides insight that why now a downward trajectory in India's foreign policy can be noted. So guys, first of all, foreign policy of any country is characterized by occasional ups as well as downs. For example, into the past, India had shown both values of competitiveness as well as a competition to the China, and both countries have assisted into a competitive growth. Secondly, guys, onto the Nepal front, India had played an important role into the constitutional development of Nepal. With the Sri Lanka, we had formed various meaningful partnerships with respect to the infrastructural upgradation. With respect to the Afghanistan, we had concluded several successful agreements. For example, we constructed the Zaranj Dile Ram Road in Afghanistan. Then the Salwa Dam was developed in Afghanistan. Then Parliament building was developed in Afghanistan. After that, Haji Kak mine was also being developed by the India. Then, guys, with respect to the Iran, Chabahar deal was one of very instrumental one. Then on to the SARC, India had played the role of the leadership and had provided regional voice to various countries who are involved here. Then, guys, with respect to the Bangladesh, we had concluded various long pending disputes. For example, we concluded the 100th Constitutional Amendment Act, by which the enclave issue with the Bangladesh was solved. Then, guys, the dispute onto the Tista was also solved. But guys, all these are the achievements of the past, and as if we talk about today, that is 2020, then guys, relation with all these countries are suffering. For example, with China, where we had seen the worst standoff onto the LAC in last 4 decades. And then Nepal had outrightly condemned India as expansionist power, and had even issued a new map where it has shown Kala Pani, Limpia Dhura, as well as Lipu Lake as a part of their own territory. Then, guys, with Sri Lanka, now Sri Lanka is drifting to China, and into the string of pearls policy of China, Sri Lanka will be acting as a meaningful pearl, because various large infrastructural projects are being given to the China. After that, guys, when we talk about Afghanistan peace process was being held, and into that peace process India was not included, even when India is a very meaningful neighborhood with the Afghanistan. After that, guys, Iran recently dropped India out of the Chabahar railway development project, the railway line which is being laid from Chabahar to Zahedan. Then the SARC forum is virtually not having any meaningful talks right now. Just a SARC fund was announced into the aftermath of COVID-19, but no further deliberations have happened here. Then, guys, Bangladesh had also condemned India onto the NRC issue. So here we can see that now the downs are so much that we hardly remember the up of India's foreign policy. Now, what could be the reasons as we are seeing such a decline? So, guys, three reasons have been given into the articles, and all these three reasons will be seeing one by one. So, first of all, is with respect to the foreign policy of India. Now, guys, if you are following regularly, just 3 4 days ago, we had seen that Minister of External Affairs had outlined that what is the foreign policy of India into the present times. And repeatedly, it has been said that now India follows the strategic autonomy and believes into the multilateralism. It believes that with all the economies, meaningful partnerships should be formed. But into the article, it has been said that on ground, it is not the case. Rather, India is still living into the shadow of the USA, and India's foreign policy is just the realignment with the USA's foreign policy, and this thing has been depicted by certain examples. So, guys, first example we can see is of Iran. Now, guys, we signed the agreement in 2003 to develop the Chabahar port. But as the relation between the Iran and USA deteriorated, no development was carried with the Iran onto the Chabahar. And guys, even India voted against the Iran when a resolution was raised by the International Atomic Energy Agency in 2009, simply because USA was one amongst the country who endorsed that the resolution should be raised against the Iran. So, guys, this is one episode. Then, guys, another episode we can see since 2015. Now, in 2015, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was signed with Iran, and sanctions were removed. And in this line, in 2016, India also improved the relation and signed the Trilateral Connectivity Project. However, in 2018, USA pulled back from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and again sanctions was imposed in Iran. And guys, since 2018, India also reduced the trade with the Iran, and virtually trade became near to the zero. And even the IRCON, which was working onto the Trilateral Connectivity Project, which was building the railway from Chabahar to Zahedan, it also became very slow. And because of this, now in 2020, Iran has also even said that they are dropping India from the Chabahar to Zahedan railway project. So, guys, these are the now here onto this graph we can see that the relations with the Iran are going up down onto the basis of USA's attitude with the Iran. Now, guys, due to this alignment, China is also being concerned, and China's confrontation in LAC could also be an outburst of this India's aligning with the USA. Now, guys, see, there are some other concerns also. USA has four foundational military agreements, and out of these four, the three have been signed by the India, which further concerns the China, and China is bringing up the narrative into the LAC. However, moving forward, now we'll see the reason number two, that why foreign relations are at the low level. Now, guys, what is happening? The domestic politics of India is clouding the foreign relations. See, here I will give you the example of two key legislations. First is the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now, guys, because of this particular legislation, even the friendly Muslim neighborhood nation, that is Bangladesh, is turning hostile to the India, and it has clearly shown the reservation against the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now, guys, the spirit underlying this particular legislation is that India will give the citizenship to the communities which are being persecuted onto the religious ground. And as we had included the Bangladesh, then indirectly we are saying that Bangladesh is persecuting the minorities living there. And guys, it doesn't gives a good impression. Moreover, guys, as Muslims have been deliberately not included here, all the Muslim neighborhood is angry, and even Afghanistan is also angry with the India. Then B is J&K Reorganization Act of 2019 and Constitution application to Jammu and Kashmir Order 2019, with which we changed the status of Jammu and Kashmir. And guys, not only the status was changed, but since 1 year the fundamental rights have been denied to people living in Jammu and Kashmir, and it is raising a human right concern against the India by the neighborhood as well as by the Europe. And even the reason given for the change of J&K, that insurgency will be reduced, there has been no considerable numbers to show that the insurgency had actually reduced. So, guys, moreover, it has been said that out of populism these two steps were taken, but they are impacting the foreign relations. Then, guys, third is the hubris. Hubris means the extreme self confidence. Now, guys, the two examples we have, one is of USSR. So as USSR won the World War II, it claimed itself as a superpower, but we saw that as early as 1991 it was disintegrated. Then, guys, the second example is of China. China waited for 30-40 years and only signaled after 1980s that they are the rising power, and even then also they kept silence, and only now the China is asserting itself. And here, if we bring the India, then guys, India is showing so much of self confidence and reclaiming itself as Vishwa Guru, Jagat Guru, even when there is no substantial achievement onto the economic ground, onto the diplomatic ground, or on some other parameters. So it has been said that such self confidence is not desired at the nascent state, rather India should work into the silence. So, guys, excellently, into three reasons, the achievements onto the foreign policy front has been outlined. So that's it about this particular article. Now we'll move to next. Now, this article is providing that how into the aftermath of COVID-19, a kind of a reform into the healthcare industry is coming, and how this particular could be an opportunity to reform the healthcare sector in entirety. First of all, guys, India's health is dominated by the private sector, and we know that the private sector is profit driven. And because of this particular consideration, many a times such practices have been resorted by the private healthcare providers, that the kind of a trust deficit has come between the healthcare providers and people. But now, guys, such unethical practices are being reduced, and by help of certain examples we will see. First of all, guys, see, many a times unnecessary practices or unnecessary medical procedures were prescribed just to foot the higher medical bill, and many of these procedures have been debated with respect to their medical efficacy. First, guys, we can see hysterectomy, which means the surgical removal of the uterus. but it is still being debated that it poses more risks than the benefit, but still it was routinely referred to the women by the gynecologist. And now as people are apprehensive to visit the hospitals, their operations have gone substantially down. Then guys, there also used to be various unnecessary cosmetic surgeries which were routinely recommended, and they are also coming down. After that, in the case of institutional pregnancy, routinely cesarean section or c-section was recommended, which had various negative impacts onto the women's long term pregnancy health, and now they are also coming down. Guys, after that, there was a very bad practice which is prevalent, that for the just for insurance claims, many a times patients are admitted for more than a day, which are called as the observation admissions. And now as people are not going to the hospitals, these observation based admissions are also coming down. Now after this, guys, the second change which has came is that now the doctors are weighing the pros and cons of a particular treatment. And the most notable example we can see here into the terms of the cancer treatment. So guys, oncologists often used to refer the chemotherapy to the patients who were suffering from the cancer. But efficiency of chemotherapy has been widely debated, and many a times it becomes such side effects which are even more deadlier than the cancer. But guys, earlier, as a routine practice, chemotherapy was being referred, which actually works onto the principle of cell destruction. Now guys, into the aftermath of COVID-19, strong immunity is desired, and strong immunity is dependent purely onto the cell count. And therefore now even the doctors are weighing the pros and cons of giving the chemotherapy, and only into the most urgent and most suitable cases the chemotherapy is now being suggested, which is a very positive development. Now coming to the point number 3. So guys, a kind of an attitudinal change has been seen into the people. See, into the pre-COVID world, there was an entire lobby of the private health providers which was suggesting that people should go for the regular health checkups, which usually cost a fortune to the people. But now due to COVID, people are more focusing on adopting the better lifestyle, adjusting their dietary patterns, quitting the tobacco, sugar, etc. And guys, this better lifestyle in long term will be bringing more benefits rather than the earlier obsession which was there only onto the health checkups. So guys, these are certain changes which had came into the private health sector for good, but there are certain unintended bad consequences also. Now, number one, guys, because of above stated things, the profitability of private healthcare sector has gone down substantially. And if their profitability goes beyond a particular point, then there could be the collapse of entire private healthcare. And as we know that majority of healthcare provisioning is there into the private sector, it will be really disastrous. Then, guys, there could also be a profusion of unethical practices by the health practitioners in order to make up the losses which have been incurred. And already we are seeing that the private hospitals which are treating the COVID-19 patients, they are making the substantial bills, and once the bill have also been capped by the state governments, they are recovering the cost by inflating the charges of the PPE suits, gloves, etc. So guys, this is kind of unethical practice, and on other spheres also it can come. Now the third point, see guys, we had seen that the morale of the private sector doctors is not good because their profitability is reduced, and at the same time the morale of the public healthcare workers is also not good because of the substantial workload coupled with the less salaries. And guys, if the morale of the entire health workforce will go down, then it will also be the problematic thing. So this is the analysis of the healthcare sector into the pandemic world. So guys, good points have been given, it could be used into your answer. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now this particular article throws some really good insights with respect to the problem of hunger and malnutrition in India. Now, guys, with respect to the hunger status into the world, one of the most credible report is the SOFI report, which we also discussed a few days back because the SOFI 2020 version was released. Now, first of all, SOFI report is released in collaboration by different institutions such as the Food and Agricultural Organization, UNICEF, International Fund for Agricultural Development, World Food Program, and WHO. And in this particular news article, the highlights on hunger has been thrown by using the data from the SOFI report. Now, guys, first of all, according to the SOFI report, there could be three types of diet. First diet is called as the basic energy sufficient diet, and it works onto the principle of calorie consumption. And this calorie is taken by consuming the cheapest starchy cereal which is available, for example wheat, or it could be rice. And guys, how many calories is needed? So here the reference has been taken as 2329 kilocalorie. So if a person can have this much of calorie by this food, then he is having the basic energy sufficient diet. Then second diet is the nutrient adequate diet. So guys, it has two parameters. It has the calorie component which we had seen above, as well it also considers the micro and macronutrients, 23 micro and macronutrients if a person can get it. And for that he need to diversify his food diet. And then guys, the third one is the healthy diet, which has the calorie component, nutrient component which we had seen here, as well as it also has that whether a person have diversity in his food or not. He is consuming legumes, he is consuming egg, meat, fish, milk, fresh fruit, vegetable, etc. Now guys, obviously the most desired diet is the healthy diet, so that we can have a healthy demography which can give us the healthy demographic dividend. But more than the preference, there is also a factor of affordability. Guys, you want to have this particular diet, but it should also be in reach of your income level. Now guys, the SOFI report has also provided the comparative prices of these three type of diets into the South Asia. And guys, at the same time, according to World Bank, the international poverty line is $1.9 per day. It means the people below this are poor and people above this are non-poor. And now here we can realize, guys, that even the people who are above the poverty line, they can also not afford the nutrient adequate diet, and the healthy diet is way beyond their income potential. So guys, actually the hunger problem is very grave into the South Asia, where even the non-poor are not able to afford the good diet. And here if we take the reference of India specifically, then guys, India's poverty line, which is based on to the Tendulkar line, stands at 33 rupees for the urban areas and 27 rupees for the rural areas. And thus guys, even the people who are the above poverty line in India, they are also in no condition to support the nutrient as well as healthy diet. And guys, when people will not be having the adequate diet, how we can reap the demographic dividend for which we are claiming? Moreover, guys, into the aftermath of lockdown, people lost their opportunities of job, and even large number of people are not into the capacity to afford even the basic energy sufficient diet. Though, guys, government of India had reacted by announcing the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, but still, guys, here also the entitlements which are being provided, they will only be fulfilling the either basic energy sufficient diet or at best the nutrient adequate diet, and still the healthy diet will not be provided. So guys, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana as well as the National Food Security Act of India is faltering onto this particular aspect. So it is high time that government should plug the hunger gaps, not only onto the socio-economic consideration, but also because of the moral obligation, the constitutional obligation under the DPSP, as well as because of the international sanction. Because guys, India had pledged to achieve the sustainable developmental goals, and there the goal number 2 specifically talks about reducing the hunger. So guys, these are certain insights into the hunger, and by substantiating it with the SOFI report, you can really write very good answers. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular article is a very generalistic criticism of the draft EIA 2020 rules. Guys, the background or the implications have not been explained into this particular article. So, with respect to the UPSC, it will not serve the purpose. Moreover, multiple times we had seen the problems which are involved here. However, guys, still, if you don't know anything about the EIA 2020, then please refer the discussion here. You will get the entire issue which is involved. So, that's it. Now, we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular news points out that the tiger population in India has went up substantially. Now, guys, if we talk about the world, then 75% of world's tiger are found in India, and there have been substantial increase into this population into the recent years. Now, guys, first of all, tigers have been given the status of endangered onto the IUCN Red List, and for maintaining the ecological balance, tigers are very necessary because they are the top predators, and therefore they also lie at the top of the food pyramid. So, guys, in order to maintain the ecological balance, their viable population is very much necessary. Now, guys, you don't need to go into the details as how many tigers I have increased or that, because not important for our exam. However, guys, with respect to the trends into the tiger population, tiger census is carried at regular intervals, and the recent tiger census was carried by the National Tiger Conservation Authority and Wildlife Institute of India in 2018, and the report was published in 2019. Now, guys, before going into the news, National Tiger Conservation Authority was originally established in 2005, but, guys, with the 2006 amendment into the Wildlife Protection Act, the actual statutory status was given to the National Tiger Conservation Authority. So we will say that it was formed by the 2006 amendment into the Wild Protection Act. Now, guys, the NTCA is responsible for management of Project Tiger as well as for the tiger reserves in India. And, guys, then the Wildlife Institute of India, it is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which was established to carry the research into the areas of biodiversity, endangered species, wildlife policy, etc. So, guys, both of them carried the tiger census. And as of the tiger census, the considerable improvement or the jump into the tiger population is because of the conservation efforts that are going into the Nagarjun Sagar Shri Salam Tiger Reserve, which is in Andhra Pradesh. You can see it onto the map. And now, guys, if we make a closer look onto the map, then we can see that the Krishna River passes from the Nagarjun Sagar Shri Salam Tiger Reserve, and onto the Krishna River into the Nagarjun Tiger Reserve, the Shri Salam hydroelectric plant is also situated. So please keep all these things into your mind with respect to the map pointing in prelims. Now, guys, this particular article mentions about the data protection law, on which certain reservations or oppositions have been shown by the various member of parliament. Now, guys, before going into the news article, I will give you some background. So, guys, in 2017, Supreme Court issued the Puttaswamy judgment, and in this Puttaswamy judgment, Supreme Court said that the right to privacy is a fundamental right which is provided under Article number 21, that is life, right to life and personal liberty. Now, guys, further, if you have read the fundamental right, then you might have read Article number 35, which talks that any legislation to implement the fundamental right is to be framed by the parliament. So, guys, parliament constituted the BN Shri Krishna committee, and the work of this committee was to recommend the data protection law. And, guys, onto the basis of the committee's recommendation, the draft Data Protection Bill 2019 was introduced by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And it aimed to provide the protection of data, it aimed to protect the privacy of the data and all such kind of matters. Now, guys, one extra information. So, does it means that right now there was no privacy law? No, guys, that is not correct. There is IT Act of 2000, under which the IT rules of 2011 are framed. So, right now the privacy is governed by the IT rules 2011. Now guys, this particular bill provides various provisions with respect to the data privacy. For example, it provides for the data protection agency whose purpose will be the protection of the data. Then it defines the data principle. It means the people who are generating the data, that is the agencies, organizations, individuals. Then guys, it also provides various right to the data principles. For example, right to forget their data, right to consent about the data, and all these kind of things. Moreover guys, if somebody is having problem with respect to the data protection authority, then there is also the provision of the appellate tribunal where the appeals can be made. After that guys, under this particular bill, there is also the provision of the data fiduciary. Now guys, data fiduciary is a person, or sorry, is an agency which is collecting huge data, and the data fiduciaries have to undertake the accountability measures with respect to the data protection, impact assessment, and all these kind of things. So guys, much needed safeguards have been provided, but there are certain criticisms of also of this particular bill, and the criticism is the section number 35 and section number 36. Now guys, these sections provide that there are certain agencies which don't need to abide the provisions of the data protection law, and they get an exemption. Now guys, in detail we will read this section 35. So it says that in the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, all or any provisions of the act shall not apply to any agency of the government. And which government agencies are protected here? So guys, it includes the NIA, National Crime Record Bureau, Narcotic Control Bureau, and the Registrar General of India. So they might not follow the data protection law. Moreover guys, even more grounds are provided in section number 36 on which the law or the protection given by this particular law can be suspended. They could be the prevention, detection, investigation, etc. So now it is said that both of these sections, they are violative of the civil liberties that are provided to the citizens by the constitution, and they should be rolled back, and even government is not able to justify these two sections. So guys, this is the entire story which is behind this particular issue. That's it. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, this particular article pertains to the China's foreign policy into the neighborhood, which could have repercussions for the India. So guys, on Monday, China convened a very rare quadrilateral dialogue between four countries, that is China, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nepal. And guys, here China offered the help to all these countries by the way of connectivity projects, economic package, funding, and all these kind of things. First of all, guys, we'll see the developments which has taken. So first of all, it has said that the China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is going through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, will further be extended to Afghanistan, so that Afghanistan can get better connectivity as well as accessibility, so the developmental fruits can come to the Afghanistan. After that, guys, it was said that the Trans-Himalayan multi-dimensional connectivity network will be extended to Nepal, so that the connectivity between the Nepal, China, and nearby country can increase. Guys, we know that it is said into the context of Nepal that world countries are landlocked, but Nepal is India locked. And guys, in this particular direction, China is helping the Nepal here. Then guys, further it has been said that the all countries should become the active partner into the Belt and Road Initiative, where it has been said that the countries will be gaining the fruits of connectivity as well as accessibility. Further, the COVID response has also been talked. Here it has been said that the Nepal and Afghanistan should see the success examples of China and Pakistan in containing the COVID-19, and China is willing to provide all the support for the COVID-19 response. And even it has also been said that the countries which are politicizing the pandemic, they should be condemned to shame, which could be a tacit reference to the USA as well as India. Now, this quadrilateral dialogue has a great repercussion for India, because all the countries who are involved here, they happen to be the neighbor of India, and China is trying to strangulate India by stripping India from the support of its neighboring countries. And guys, they could even be turned into the adversaries at the time of crisis by the China. So guys, we can see that it could be one more step ahead into the China's string of pearls policy, where China is actively trying to contain India. Moreover, guys, according to Indra Kumar Gujral, neighbors are our first wall of defense. And guys, if this wall will fall into China's favor, then the repercussions will be dire for India. So this is the high time that India should explore all the diplomatic channels so that neighbors can brought back again into the confidence of India, and so that the China's dominance and influence over the neighbors could be controlled. So guys, active steps are needed in this particular direction. Guys, one just friendly advice from my side: whenever we are talking about foreign policy of India, we never use the word dominance, influence, etc. We use the word support, capacity building, etc. However, whenever you will be using the name of China, Pakistan into the foreign policy, there you can use the word influence, hegemony, dominance, etc. So these are certain subtle terminologies which you need to keep in mind when you are writing the answers on diplomacy, foreign relation, etc. So guys, this is all into this particular article, and now we'll move to next. Now guys, here we can see a news just for the reference of India and Bangladesh relations. Now guys, it is being said that a kind of a short term irritant can develop between the India and Bangladesh relation because of the state support that is being given to the Ram temple construction. Now guys, by the state support I mean that actively the government is getting involved into the temple construction despite of India being a secular country. And it has been alleged into certain factions of Bangladeshi politics that India is giving substance to the two nation theory, as government is actively taking a stand when the temple construction is being talked about. So guys, this could be a brief irritant which has been talked into this particular article, but it has been said that the hope is still there that people and government will work actively to resolve such kind of issues. And now, guys, further into this below news item, the India had presented the 10 broad gauge locomotives to the Bangladesh. I hope that this is something which is being done in order to undo a kind of a damage that will be coming from here. However, guys, we are not needed to go that much into that line because it will be the unnecessary politicization. So that's it, just brief what has happened here. That's it. Now we'll move to next. Guys, here certain suggestions has been given by the RBI chief in order to reignite or to bring back the economic recovery. Now guys, these suggestions we can use into our answer on economic development as a reference. So the area which have been referred here are that government should go with the active investment into the infrastructure sector, and particularly into infrastructure it has been said that the high speed rail corridors as well as north to south and west to east high speed expressways should be built right now, so that employment could be given to people, and so that the investment which will go into this region, it can bring back the aggregate demand into economy. Moreover, guys, apart from the infrastructure, other sectors which were talked were the farm sector, renewable sector, information and communication technology sector, and the fifth one is the startup and value supply chains. So guys, it has been said that by working here, adequate employment will be generated. Moreover, guys, into this particular meet, it was also appealed to the RBI chief that further moratoriums onto the loan repayment should not be extended, as people who can pay, they are also misusing it. And because of continued moratorium, the financial condition of the small finance bank, non-banking financial companies, etc., will be substantially be impacted. Further, guys, it has also been said that the loans should be restructured by the RBI, because there are large number of retail as well as wholesale borrowers who might not be able to pay back, and in that case their accounts will be turned as the NPAs. So guys, it has been said that some restructuring on this part should be carried. And thirdly, it has been said that the Reserve Bank of India should go into the bond buying program so that enough of liquidity can come into the economy, because world over the central banks are doing this responsibility. And guys, in this particular regard, the burden of infusing liquidity should not only be imposed onto the commercial banks. So guys, this is all about this particular news, and now we'll move to next. Now, guys, further in this particular news item, the government had said that in order to bring the investment in India, two reforms will be taken very soon. The reform number one is the establishment of the single window system, so that all the clearances or approvals for the industry can be taken at a one stop roof. And secondly, the proposal of the land bank will also be coming into force. So, guys, under the land bank, the land parcels or the land packets will be placed, and any investor who wants to start the industry can see the suitable lands, and from his distant office only he can finalize a particular land on which he will be establishing the industry. And by this thing, much convenience or ease of doing business will be coming, as he need not to visit the different sites. Now, guys, here it is being said that a genuine single window system will be worked, as all the state governments, different central ministries will be coming aboard on a single platform. However, guys, details have not been released in this particular regard, and we still need to see as what actual will happen. So guys, that's all about here, and now we'll go to the question section. Guys, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So question number first is with respect to the Istanbul Convention. Please identify the correct code. Question number two is with respect to the contempt of court. So please consider the statements. Question number three is with respect to the Global Forest Resources Assessment Report. Please identify the right option. And now the question number four is with respect to the polity, and here you need to consider the statement with respect to the cabinet secretariat. So guys, please identify the correct code. Now friends, the main question for today, so it is from GS paper number 2, and it is a 15 marker question. So question says that the data protection and privacy are the new age fundamental rights, but they require all the possible protections which have evolved as a part of historical process. Explain the steps taken by India in order to secure the data protection. So guys, please write it, and into the next class we will see the framework of this question. So friends, that's all for today. I hope you are liking our discussion. Thank you so much.